All right, y'all, welcome back. So today we are going to talk about section 3.4. Okay, this is going to be the very last section of our topic 3. Okay, so the very last section of this semester. So hopefully it's a nice way for us to end. Okay, you guys have done something similar to this before with long division of numbers back when you were in middle school, probably, or elementary school. I don't know exactly. But when you learned how to do this, okay, probably elementary school. This, unfortunately, is not in your workbook, so you're just going to have to write it on a different piece of paper. The workbook only has one example, and I think we need a couple of other ones, all right? So I started these notes, all right, by reviewing what we did, what you've already done, right? So I just took a regular number, 1,234 divided by 7, okay, and I did long division for it. Now, I've already worked it out because I tried to record this video twice already, and it hasn't worked. So that's why you see that it's already worked out. Okay, but just to review, all right, what we are trying to do is we're trying to figure out how many times 7 will go into the first number. Now, 7 won't go into 1, okay, but 7 will go into 12, okay? So 7 goes into 12 one time. So 1 times 7 is 7, and then we always subtract. 12 minus 7 is 5. And then if you remember, we pull down the next number. So then we're thinking, how many times will 7 go into 53? 7 will go into 53 7 times. So 7 times 7 is 49. And 53 minus 49 gives me 4. Then I pull down the next number of 4. How many times will 7 go into 44? That's 6 times. 6 times 7 is 42. 44 minus 42 gives us 2. Okay, so when you were in elementary school, you probably learned how to write it like this. 2 is our remainder. So we put R2. We are no longer going to use R's. Okay, we're not going to say remainder of 2 anymore. What we are going to do is we're going to write the remainder and whatever we divided by as a fraction. Okay, so the actual answer that we would use in this case is 176 and 2/7 because 2 was the remainder and 7 is what we divided by. Okay, so we are going to write it as a fraction now instead of using R. All right, so we're going to do 2 problems. Okay, we are going to start with this problem right here. X squared plus 2x minus 48 divided by x plus 8. Okay, so one of the most important things that you have to check every time is that there's nothing missing in the problem. For example, this problem goes from x squared down to x to the first, down to no variable, right? That's what we need. There's nothing missing. Like there's not a gap in them, okay? If there's a gap, you're going to have to add a 0, which you'll see on the second example, all right? So if we wanted to do long division, whatever I'm dividing by goes on the outside, just like before, and whatever I'm dividing goes on the inside. X squared plus 2x minus 48. Okay? So just like we had it with the numbers, right? Whatever we're dividing by goes on the outside. Whatever we are dividing goes on the inside. I know it looks weird with the letters and the variables, but it's the exact same process. Okay? What I need you to think about is ignore everything except for whatever comes first. So ignore the plus 8 and ignore the 2x minus 48. Only look at what comes first. Okay, so ignore that part and ignore the plus 8. All I want you to look at is the x and the x squared. So what we have to think about is what times x would get us x squared. Okay, what times x would get us x squared? And in this case, that would be x. Notice that I put the x on top of the x. I didn't put it here because this is the x squared column. Okay, you want to keep everything lined up. Then we just multiply, just like we did with numbers. X times x is x squared. But we also have to do x times 8, so plus 8x. And just like before, it will always be subtraction. Okay, if you mess up, this is probably where it's going to be. Be careful with your signs. So x squared minus x squared, right? Our goal is to cancel out whatever's first, which it does. X squared minus x squared goes away. 2x minus 8x. So 2 minus 8 is negative 6x. And then just like before, up here with numbers, how I pulled down the 3 and I pulled down the 4, I'm going to do the exact same thing here. I'm going to pull down the negative 48. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did in the first step. So ignore that negative 48. Just look at the negative 6x and just look at the x. What number up here times x would get us negative 6x? I already have the x, right? There's the x already. I'm just missing the negative 6. So negative 6 would go on top. And then I multiply. Negative 6 times x is negative 6x. Negative 6 times 8 is negative 48. And again, it is always a subtraction. Okay? Whatever you got, put it in parentheses. It'll help you keep track of your negative signs. Negative 6 minus negative 6. These two negatives right here, right, are actually positive, right? A negative and a negative make a positive. So it's actually negative 6 plus 6, which cancels. If you would like, you can change them all, right? This negative, everything after it would become a plus, okay? But I'm not going to change it, but you can. Negative 48 minus negative 48. A negative and a negative make a positive. So negative 48 plus 48 is 0. So this gave me a remainder of 0, right? So I don't have to write a fraction now. I already know what my answer is, x minus 6. And we are done, okay? So if there's no remainder, you don't have to worry about the fraction. Just remember, no r's anymore, okay? No more r's. We're not going to say a remainder of something anymore. We're going to write it as a fraction, all right? We're going to do one more problem, and that is this one. This one's, as you can tell, is a little bit longer, right? It goes r to the 4th. Up here, it just went squared. So now the biggest one is a 4, all right? So I'm going to give you a minute to write that down. Excuse me. So you also notice that, well, we'll get to that in a minute. So we're going to take r plus 4 on the outside, and then whatever we're dividing goes on the inside. Now notice in this part right here, right? We're missing something, right? I have an r to the 4th, but I don't have an r to the 3rd, right? I'm missing it. It's been skipped. I can't skip anything when I write it down here. Okay, I have to have a placeholder for it. And the only number that holds places is 0. That's the one number you can add to an equation that won't change the equation. Think about like 5 plus 0 is still 5. But if I added a 1, 5 plus 1 changes it to 6, right? So 0 is the one number that I can add to anything that won't change the problem. So everything's going to stay the same, except I have to put in 0 r cubed in there because I don't have an r cubed in my problem. Everything else will stay. R squared is next. Then I should have 4r, then plus 2. Notice it goes in order now, the exponents. 4, 3, 2, 1, nothing, right? So it goes in order. It has to go in order. If you forget to put that place value, it's going to look a little weird and it's going to be a whole lot harder, okay? So what we do now is we ignore everything except the first one. What times r would get us r to the 4th? Okay, so what times r would get us r to the 4th? In this case, that's r to the 3rd power. That's why I had to put the r to the 3rd in there, because I need everything to line up. Like this is the r cubed column. So only r cubes are going to go here. Only r squareds will go there. All right? So now we multiply. R cubed times r is r to the 4th. R cubed times 4 is 4r cubed. And we subtract. It is always subtraction. Nothing's changed. R to the 4th minus r to the 4th, they cancel. 0 r cubed minus 4r cubed is negative 4r cubed. 0 minus 4 is negative 4. And then just like the problem above it, we pull down the next one. Negative 5r squared. And I repeat the same process. So ignore the 5r squared. Ignore the 4. Ignore that 4. What times r would get us negative 4r cubed? Okay, that's what we have to think about. I already have 1 r, but I need 3. So I'm missing 2 r's, and I'm also missing that negative 4. So negative 4r squared is what I would put on top. So negative 4r squared times r is negative 4r cubed. And negative 4r squared times 4 is negative 16r squared. And again, I subtract. It is always subtract. It'll never be add. Okay? So negative 4r cubed minus a negative 4r cubed. These two negatives become a positive, so they cancel. Negative 5r squared minus negative 16. Again, these two negatives become a positive, so it's negative 5 plus 16, which is 11r squared. And then guess what I'm going to do? Now I'm going to do this again. I'm going to pull down the 4r. And I repeat the exact same process. So ignore that 4r. What times r would get us 11r squared? Okay, I already have one r. I need one more r, and I need an 11. So that's 11r. And then I multiply. 11r times r is 11r squared. 11r times 4 is 44r. And once again, we subtract. If you've done everything right, the first term should cancel. Okay? So 11r squared minus 11r squared, they cancel out. 4r minus 44r. 4r minus 44r. 4 minus 44 is negative 40r. Okay? And now one last step. We do this all over again, but now I'm going to pull down the negative 2, or the positive 2, excuse me. So pull down the 2. Now ignore the 2. Just look at the r and the negative 40r. The only thing that's missing from this one to that one is the negative 40. So minus 40. Negative 40 times r is negative 40r. Negative 40 times 4 is negative 160. And again, we subtract. It is literally always subtract, okay? These two negatives become a positive. So negative 40 plus 40 cancels. 2 minus negative 160. So again, they become plus. So 162 is what I have left over. There is nothing left for me to pull down, right? So that's my remainder. But remember, we don't write r anymore. Okay, so my final answer to this problem is this whole thing. And then the 162 is positive. So I'm going to put plus because it's positive. 162 on top, whatever you divide by on bottom. R plus 4. That is my final answer. Okay? So I was able to take this problem, do long division, and figure out what it equaled. Okay? So there is my answer to question number 3. All right? So your guys' assignment is just some practice with this long division. Okay? Now that I see that they can take a little while, right? And there's a ton of places for you to mess up. Okay? So be patient. Take your time. Make sure you're doing your math right. Use your calculator when you need to. All right? You don't have many problems because they take a little while. Okay? If you need me, please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help you. All right? Thank you all very, very much. Good luck. You got this.